5 years before, and I just sent CDs to different people in Portugal, in Indonesia, in Japan, in Norway, in Morocco. I just send my CD to different people. And in the beginning, nothing happened because they said, we don't really know you, and we can't spend the money, to bring you to Norway. It's too much. But what happened was a lot of those promoters in those countries got my music. And then finally, when I got a record deal in 2003, it was in Portugal, and they knew about me. They knew about my music. I don't know how, but they knew about it, and that made a big difference. So just to try to realize, we live in a global world, not just Mexico, right? We're so close to the USA, we're close to Canada, you're close to Latin America, Argentina, Chile, Brazil. Everything is here, so the world market is really waiting. So I think that if you have an interesting project, even if you don't get a concert in those places, it's very important, I think, in this day and age, to get your music in many different places. It's easy to do that. So I started doing that before the internet was really big, in 2002, 2003, and then Tirana started touring from that time on. And then what happens? After a few years, you realize, man, this is a lot of work, because I am booking the concerts, I'm making the music, I'm paying for all the records, I am driving the band on tour, I am booking the hotels, I'm doing everything. So it was just too much, I still do a lot of things, but I'm a tour manager, I'm a car driver, booking agent, drummer, electronic musician, composer. Sometimes I even have to do my own visual graphic art. So I have to just make my own posters if I don't have any time. It's crazy. You have to do everything. So in 2015, to be a musician, you have to be everything. You cannot just sit there and say, well, I sing, I play bass. I'm a good musician. Yeah, I'm sure you're a good bass player. But you have to be able to think about everything, visual arts. That's why it's really good that visual arts people are here, and even theater people, because I have to think a lot about stage management. How are we going to set up on stage? What are we going to look like on stage? What do we dress like? What do we do? So theater is an aspect of performance. Think about all these things very carefully. And it became really important to me to, realize I cannot do all these things on my own. But I know how to do all those things. I can put a band on tour. I can book a city. For instance, in the USA, for example, I have done a tour starting in New York. From New York, we drive 6 hours to Pittsburgh. Then from Pittsburgh, we drive to Chicago, which is another 8 hours. From Chicago, we go to St. Louis, which is 3.5 hours from St. Louis to Lexington, Lexington to Louisville, Louisville to Baltimore, Baltimore to Philadelphia, Philadelphia back to New York. And it takes 1 whole week or 10 days to finish the whole tour. But I know how to do it. I can do it like this. I know how to do the planning, So it's very important that musicians to just think about all these things, And it becomes important, very important also to think about money. There's no money, in a lot of music immediately, but it's very important for musicians to not get taken advantage. You know what I mean? Like to have somebody that's just going to be like, oh yeah, come play, but I don't have any money for you. But you know what? It's good for your band, so you should play here. So, oh, you want to be in my movie or you want to be in my play? Yeah, but I have no money for you. But this play is going to make your career, It's a tough decision, I did a workshop on the same topic at New York University on Monday. What do? You need the money, right? But you also need the exposure to make your career start. So you have to always find a balance, and it's a very difficult balance. And I want to ask you guys also what you think about this question, if you don't have a job, what do? Do you just take a job for the experience? Or do you really feel like you should get paid right away, So I think for a lot of musicians, they don't think a lot about all these things, and it becomes very important to think about money, even if it's $50 or like 100 pesos or 1,000 pesos or for a concert. Okay, it's 1,000 pesos. It's not 20,000 pesos, but you know what? That's maybe the first 1,000 pesos you ever made in your life playing music, right? So you have to know what to do with it. Maybe you have a contract. Maybe you don't have a contract. Maybe the promoter is giving you a really bad deal. Maybe there's 100 people in the club and they're charging everybody 100 pesos, 300 pesos to come in the club, and you are only getting 1,000 pesos after everything. You're going to be like, wow, there were 300 people in the club. You know what I mean? So all these things are really important from the beginning to think about, because otherwise, as you get older, a lot of musicians don't think about these things enough. How to make a contract, how to make yourself look good, but not also be a bad guy, you know? Because if you say, I need $1,000, otherwise, psh, I'm gonna go, you know? But yeah, I never heard of your band, you know? It's like, who are you, you know? Like, so you have to find that balance, and I think, for me, I found that balance. Sometimes I'll take a gig if it pays little money, if I feel that I'm getting a lot of respect from the promoter. And they say, you know what, Ravish, we really like Tirana. We want to bring you back next time for a big festival, I promise. So please, I hope you will accept these fees. Other times I say no. It has to be no less than this much money, you know? So it's important to think about these things from the beginning, and also understand more about who you're working with in your band. Because you know what? Maybe you're friends. What happens when the band becomes famous? What happens? What do you think? Oh, I wrote the music. You're just the bass player, so I'm gonna get all the publishing, you know? Oh, I'm the singer, so everybody's looking at me on stage. You're just playing piano. You're just the drummer. Nobody cares about the drummer, you know? It happens a lot, you know? It's my band. I'm the singer, and I'm going to take all the money, you know? Know your friends, you know? Do you trust your friends if there's a business deal? Seriously, I mean, on a serious situation, it's important, you know? I mean, do you trust your friends if it's a business deal? So those things become really important in the very beginning. Did you guys ever see that documentary about Metallica, Some Kind of Monster? Anybody see this? You guys know Metallica, right? Of course. Make sure you guys know what is he talking about? Metallica made a documentary called Some Kind of Monster, and it's a documentary about how they're all in rehab because they're all doing too much drugs, they're all messed up, they're all crazy, and the music sucks. But they keep the band together because on each concert they're making 10 or 15 million dollars on each concert. Think about that. Think about that. They hired a bass player for audition, Robert Trujillo. He used to play bass in the Suicidal Tendencies, which is a skate punk band in the 80s. And when they hired him, they gave him $1 million just to give him money. That's the kind of money they have in Metallica. But at that point, it's not even about the music. They hate each other, they have lawyers talking to each other, the music, like, I mean, okay, you're gonna make music like this? Fine. You know, but it becomes important to think about, even if you're making 1,000 pesos or 2,000 pesos, who do you work with? Do you trust your musicians? Can you rely on them? I work with Rick Parker because he's a great musician. What? Because he speaks Spanish. He orders vegetarian food for me. Sorry. I have Rick because like he's a great musician, but when we go on the road, when we're traveling together, you know, like you need people in your band that can think about everything, like about the business, the money, the contracts, the travel, the schedules, the trains, the buses, the planes. Make sure that, hey, if I tell you, you have to be at the airport at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I don't have to worry, oh my God, are you going to go drinking the night before and miss your concert, you know? Or are you going to be there? So it becomes really important to think about who you work with and all those things. So once you have a band that you trust and people that you can work with musically and as a friend, and you trust them, and then you can start to think about music. Because you might say, oh, I want that guy or that girl, she's really good. But maybe you don't, maybe you just like don't get along, you know? Maybe you're gonna fight. And yeah, he's a really great bass player, but I cannot talk to him for more than 5 minutes, you know? So it becomes really important to think about a lot of these things when you start to put a band together. And so that's how we kind of got started. That's my philosophy of keeping a band together. And that's how I always think about any tour. I think about all the details, even though now we have a booking agent, we have people helping us with promotion. In fact, on this tour in Mexico, we're playing many different places. We play at El Convite, which is a small bar in Coyoacán. It's in Coyoacán, right? It's a small jazz club. Then we're going to do Centro Cultural España on April 22nd, which is like a nice big theater, Espacio X. Then we're going to do Fonoteca Nacional on the 24th on Friday, which is a nice big theater. We're going to make a recording at Fundación Sebastián, and then we're going to do a workshop at Escuela Superior, and then we're also going to do a concert in Morelia at the university. So, you know, many different things, but I know exactly what's happening, how to promote it, how they're helping us, how to take care of all the situations. So it's really important to think about all these things, and then when you have people helping you, it becomes very easy because you know, okay, promotion is going to happen, the publicity will happen, the people will come, there will be a drum set, there will be a piano, there will be a bass, a guitar, whatever instruments on the stage. All those things will be ready for you, and then you can come and play, and hopefully it will be a good show. So that's pretty much how you like to think at things. So I say for every musician, every visual artist, every theater person, don't just say, I'm a theater person, or I'm a visual artist, or I'm a musician. You have to be everybody, you know? I think it's really amazing that in this day and age, we have access to so much information on the internet that we can learn about different things. So learn about something else. Like as a musician, I learned a lot about the business side of music. My training is as a civil engineer. I went to university in USA to build bridges. I know, completely different from music, but it helps me a lot to think about how to organize things. So, you know, learn about other ways to think about things. And as a visual person, learn about music. As a musician, learn about, you know, what does it take for a graphic artist to work with my music, to make a cool poster, or to make a visual for my album, or anything like that. So to understand what it you know, what do they have to do to work with you? You know, I think it's really important to understand all sides of the coin, because it's just really difficult in this day, to be honest. There's so much competition when you go with your band to try to get a gig anywhere. Even in Mexico, outside Mexico, it's so competitive, right? You guys know that. It's so hard to get anything. You have to have everything together. And then when you send your press kit or your visuals or your video, then the people can recognize that, okay, yeah, these guys, they have their act together, you know? Otherwise, it's very difficult. And you know, honestly, we are not like super established. We're not like super famous, but it's in the right stage of our career also to talk to you, because a lot of things you will think about when you finish university, we still think about that. How to make a tour, how do we approach an agent, how to think about all these things that do with promotion ourselves, because we don't have a manager or a tour agent all the time, you know? So we do it ourselves, you know? So he wants to add something to that.
Well, the one other important aspect that he's really great at is making the personal connections. And he's always reaching out, Facebook and actually using Facebook a lot as a tool to meet new people in different countries and different, and so he'll see something that's being promoted by someone, reach out, and then when we're at a show, meet everyone. He remembers the name of every person we meet, pretty much. I'm always asking him, who is this person? I don't know and I've met the person maybe 3 times, and I don't remember. So it's something that's really important, and to value every person that you meet. And so this goes for everything, especially now when you're starting in the university. You don't know, like maybe this person you know is like really terrible at their instrument, or they're a really bad actor, or they can't paint. But maybe they're working really, really hard, and they'll figure it out eventually. And to just discard that person right away is really exact opposite thing you should do. You really want to forge relationships and try to keep making them and stay in touch with people and always be open to meeting new people, because you never know where that opportunity is going to come from, where that relationship is what it's going to lead to. We met, I think we first communicated on MySpace, and then we played, I went to his, I went to his apartment and we played a little session, a little rehearsal together, and that was it. And I think maybe like 2 or 3 years later, he called me back and said, "I have a tour. Do you want to do this? Let's try making music together." And we hadn't spoken for maybe 2 years, but it just came up that way. And I get so many calls in New York City from random people who I knew briefly, and maybe I had forgotten them actually initially, and who now I work with extensively. There's a musician who I met when I was doing my master's at NYU, and we barely knew each other, and he's a saxophonist, and now he calls me all the time. We have a horn section, we do recordings. We've done like the last 2 Wu-Tang Clan albums. Ghostface Killer, we do a ton of hip-hop stuff together. And this person I had no relationship with, but we just barely knew each other. And he's called me for so many things. We actually do